Greetings, welcome to the latest of my deep dive videos. Today I'm going to share with you the lovely Venus's journey through the sign of friendship and community, Aquarius. This begins on the 7th of December and goes through to the 3rd of January. I'll share with you the overall influences that Venus brings to our situations, but also what we can expect in Aquarius. But within this, I'll share on screen the event chart from a solar perspective. This sees, of course, Venus immediately applying to the planet of power and transformation, Pluto, which I feel is hugely symbolic. But also the event chart Placidus sees that combination, but they're in the second house, which has a very Tauran energy, very much to do with sensuality and the enjoyment of the good things in life. But the moon is also in Aquarius when Venus arrives, but clashing with Uranus, the modern ruler of the sign. So I'm going to unpack all of that for you. Then I'm going to give you the upcoming influences, which are going to be very impactful right through to the 3rd of January. Then please stay with me. I'll go through each of the 12 zodiac signs from Aries through to Pisces to give you a flavour of what you can expect through what can be a very social part of the year. And Venus can be an asset for that, but it can also see us celebrating our uniqueness. I'm astrologer Patrick Arundell. If you're new to my channel, thank you so much for joining us. This is a community. If you have any thoughts, please do share them. If you're a returning visitor, all your views are greatly appreciated. If you've yet to sub, we have found that 50% of people who regularly watch my videos are not subscribers. Please help the channel to thrive. Click that sub button, the bell notification symbol, but also like or share the video too, please. It all sends a signal to YouTube. Now, if you'd like a one-to-one with me to discover what next year holds for you, please see my testimonials below. I don't edit these. As they come in, I share as is. If you'd like to order your personal transits for year 2025, you'll get the rest of what's left of this year free, but you also get your free gift of your Zodiac General, Love, Indian and also Chinese written forecast, plus 30% off and your life roadmap report. Now, the personal horoscopes are totally unique to each person they're produced for. And the life roadmap is particularly relevant because that helps us to understand the patterns that are played out in our life and get a much more intimate understanding of what these are. But the forecast helps us to time our moves in the coming year. And timing, essentially, is very much about what we use astrology for. Please see below for more. If you would like to order your whole sign version, you can do that. If you don't know your time, your solar version, or if you'd like to go the soul karmic route, you can order your draconic version instead. John, thank you so much for all your support. You can download a Venus factoid. So Venus arrives at 7:14 a.m. universal into the sign of Aquarius. Now, the themes of Venus itself are influenced by the two signs it rules. So first of all, Taurus, it's very much about that sensual appreciation, good food, good wine, and of course it's earthy. But also Venus can be in that location about a little bit of luxury, or it can be about aesthetics, things that are really stripped down. So some nice organic or whole foods as much as anything too flamboyant. But it's definitely about our values, our self-worth, and critically money. Venus is also known as the lesser benefic. So in traditional astrology, it is a planet of fortune, and it is going to be forging a very exciting link with the greater benefit before the end of the year. So please stay with me whilst I outline that. But Venus's rulership of the sign of Libra is much more with what I feel that people think Venus is about. So that's about relating, partnership, harmony, aesthetics. In some ways, although Taurus can influence fashion choices, I feel that Venus in Libra very much wants to portray a particular image in a way which creates a stylized view of the subject. So Venus here can also be great at cultivating contacts by using sensitive language. But it has to be said, Venus in Libra can be a slightly superficial energy, but that would depend on the individual birth chart, the aspects applying to the planet, and also the position within Libra, and of course what house it's in. But you could potentially have, say, Venus in a square with Neptune could make someone perhaps a little bit superficial. But what about Aquarius? So I have to give you a little bit of a share here. So I have Venus in Aquarius. I also have it conjunct the moon. My wife has Venus in Aquarius conjunct my sun. So Venus in Aquarius people can have rather unusual relationships, and if you have got Venus in Aquarius and it was retrograde when you were born, the chances are you forged your closer links, if you've chosen to go that route, later in life. But friendships are a vital component to the story, because Aquarius essentially has a duality. The first energy of the sign comes from Saturn, the traditional ruler, which is very much about recognizing existing bonds and being loyal to them. And the progressive energies of Uranus is where we read about in pop astrology that Aquarians are very wacky and like to wear unusual clothes and stand out from the crowd. I don't feel that's always true at all. But it is the case, I feel, that Venus Aquarius people can have, by some people's standards, more unusual connections. So in our case, obviously, there is an age gap. But also, friendships can be a very important thing for Venus in Aquarius people. And just going through the motions of relationships doesn't usually appeal to Venus in Aquarius people. So, for example, when I was younger, the standard thing was that you'd meet someone, you'd settle down quite quickly, and it would all be sort of sorted out by the time you were at the end of your 20s. But that was something even at the time I thought, no way, I'm going to make a relationship with someone where I feel there's a spiritual connection, as well as really being attracted to someone. And also a degree of variety and stimulation is important. So Venus and Aquarius people can find it a bit more difficult to settle down, because having the opportunity to be very individualistic, the Uranian energy, and link up with lots of different types of people, why would you want to give away your freedom and space, which are very important attributes of that Uranus energy for Aquarius? But the devotion that Aquarius people can have for their connections can be very deep indeed, and therefore friendships can endure over many, many years. Now, if you do have Venus in the 11th house, but not in Aquarius, you may share some of those qualities as well. Also, I feel that Venus and Aquarius people are attracted to people who in themselves have a strong sense of their own individuality. But I must stress that when it comes to relating, as an overall principle, it's what's going on with each person's descendant in their natal chart. The descendant seems to get absolutely no coverage on YouTube whatsoever. It's all about the ascendant, it's all about the sun, can to some degree be about the midheaven in terms of work and connection to the wider world. But if you want to discover who you will connect to, whatever your zodiac sign, and frankly wherever your Venus is, even if it is in Aquarius, it will be that descendant that's critical. So for me, it's the latter part of Aries and a large part of Taurus. So that brings in that Venusian energy again. Now, that conjunction that's going to apply almost straight away between Venus and Pluto is huge, because we're seeing some big changes even in the few days that Pluto has been back in Aquarius full time for the third time. I'm thinking particularly South Korea, I'm thinking about Georgia, I'm thinking about Syria. France, we're having the breakdown there of the political ruling party, it would seem. And there's a lot of people exercising their opinions in terms of individual citizens, which is a very Aquarius thing, but then we can all combine together and that brings a wonderful force, so that in itself, I don't mean in a physical sense, I mean a spiritual force. So that's really interesting. But when Venus applies to Pluto, we do need to be sure that if someone offers us a financial opportunity, that we're really attuned to what their deeper motivation can be, because Venus applying to Pluto can see people absolutely ladle on the charm in order to get something from us, but actually it's them getting what they need from us. So for example, if you're discussing a contract, or if there is someone that you're drawn to at the moment, but it's very intense, maybe the motive for them could be, for you, could be intimacy. Now, if the deal is you both want the same thing at the same time, and the terms of reference are clearly established, very Aquarius, then okay, that's fine. But if one person says something using the charm and the potential fabrication of Venus for its rulership of Libra, it could mean that someone gets really hooked in, but then ultimately very hurt. The other thing that can happen at this time is fated unions. So anything that's starting, whether it's a business contract, a new alliance, at this time can have a very powerful energy going forwards. But with Pluto, obviously some energies or some manifestations of energies can be sitting deep, even in Aquarius. And Aquarius, of course, can be rather cool and detached, being an air sign. So we just need to be aware that jealousy, possessiveness, control are all in the mix. So for some people, Venus applying to Aquarius at 0 degrees, particularly if you've got early Taurus energy, early Leo, Scorpio and Aquarius. So on the angles, it is possible for sure that something could happen with this almost straight away that Venus goes into Aquarius, where there is a desire to perhaps have freedom, because the sign of Aquarius is about freedom and independence as much as kinship, community and the collective. So Aquarius celebrates our ability to be individual, but then collaborate and cooperate. So when it works well, it's absolutely fantastic. But if you are someone who has got great talents, flair, artistry, but you just want to find extra energy to elevate that idea or those talents, the drive that this particular aspect can give you is very strong. So on the screen now, I'm showing the event chart from a solar perspective. So this puts the ascendant, essentially the nominal ascendant, on the vernal point, 0 degrees Aries. But you can see there's Venus and Pluto in house 11, so very much about that collective. But the moon, as I mentioned before, in Aquarius, that adds a little bit more excitement. But you can see in the clash with Uranus. So Uranus in the second house has been in Taurus, has been very provocative, very unsettling and very challenging full time since March 2019. But the seeding chart, if we go back to the middle of May 2018 through to the middle of October, I think, saw Uranus in a square with Mars, and we've seen an enormous amount of turbulence since then, and very sort of rapid, uncontrolled, spontaneous aggression, particularly when it comes to land and the use of force. So Uranus has not been easy, and of course it's in its full in the sign of Taurus. So if there is somebody in our world who's taken us, our friendship even, or our hard work in terms of what we apply at work, and we don't really feel that we're particularly appreciated, it's possible with Venus applying to Pluto and the moon in a square with Uranus that some people are going to want to assert their individuality and break free. So if we feel that we're under someone's dark power, they're trying to control us in some way, that could be something that some of us will want to spin out from. But look at the combination of the Sun and of Mercury. They, of course, have had, or just had, a cazimi. And the cazimi, the inferior conjunction, because Mercury's in retrograde, does create some opportunities to cut through and understand the big picture in our lives and where we want to change things. But of course there is a commonality between the sign of Sagittarius and Aquarius. Both are freedom lovers, both love to be independent, and both can be fiercely determined to stand in their power and, you know, hold power to account. However, of course, Mercury is detrimented in Sagittarius and it is retrograde. But you can see the Sun, having moved on, is now in an opposition with Jupiter, which builds up as the week goes on. Now, ordinarily, even though Jupiter itself is retrograde and itself detrimented, that could be a very buoyant energy. But one of the things I'd say with that is it's important that we're not over optimistic if we did meet someone. So even if we met someone that we thought was fabulous company, very Aquarius, particularly with the festivities, not to get too carried away with this person we meet. We need to get to know them perhaps a little better. Now, on the screen now is the event chart from Placidus viewpoint, based on Greenwich, not because I'm in the UK, but because of the prime meridian. And the reason I'm sharing this is to illustrate Venus and Pluto being in the second house. So we are seeing a big re-engineering going on in the world at large about how we work, how we earn money, how we validate ourselves. And in Aquarius, we definitely want to be seen as individual persons. But because the moon is in the third house of ideas and clashing with Uranus, which is the closest influence to an angle, so it's very, very close to the seventh house, that reinforces that point that there is somebody that we find it difficult to get along with, or we feel they don't salute who we are, or they don't appreciate our generosity. It's a primer to escape that relationship. So if a relationship hasn't been working, I feel that that conjunction between Venus and Pluto and the fact that Uranus, the higher octave ruler of Aquarius, is squaring the moon in Aquarius, could see some people want to break free almost immediately. But what about the upcoming influences? So as the event begins, Venus and Pluto are broadly opposite Mars. Now, if you recall, Mars and Pluto were opposite on the 18th of November. They're going to come back into an exact opposition on the 3rd of January. But it's going to be later on December the 12th, when Venus goes exactly opposite Mars. And because of the time of the year we are in, and because Mars is retrograde, if there is some tensions around a relationship, perhaps in a longer standing time, one of you wants to go out with their friends to celebrate the festivities and won't hold back from asserting their right to do it. So if they're not very thoughtful about expressing that need to have a bit of space, that could definitely cause a spark. But also Venus opposite Mars can cause a spark of attraction. So maybe someone in your social group or who you get introduced to, maybe at a works gathering, something like that. And there can be an electricity because Mars in Leo is very, very charismatic indeed. So, and because Aquarius is of course a freedom lover, it may be there's going to be an intense clinch under the mistletoe. Whether it will be lasting is another matter. But from the 10th to the 13th, but peaking on the 12th, Venus opposite Mars can create a lot of intensity. But if there is someone that you're strongly drawn to in a more romantic or sexual way, the energy is going to be palpable. But then we have one of astrology's most glorious influences. Despite Jupiter's continuing retrograde, we have the trine between the two benefics. So Venus trines up with Jupiter, Venus in the air sign of Aquarius, Jupiter retreating in the air sign of Gemini from the 17th to the 22nd, but on December the 20th. So for some people, there could be a late conversation, because obviously air is about communication, maybe about a relationship, maybe about a creative project, maybe about a job or a deal, which could prove to be absolutely wonderful, like a real breakthrough moment. But just to say, Venus does imitate the moon at the start of this journey by squaring up with Uranus as the year comes to a close, and this could be quite tense. So if you are in a relationship where you're in and you really care about the person, but there are some issues, it's possible that if one of you is quite insistent on doing what you want to do, quite fixed, because of the fixed energy of Venus in Aquarius and of Uranus in Taurus, the sparks can fly, because we know that Venus square Uranus can give people the desire to do something completely spontaneous, but the rebel side of Aquarius can really come out as this year comes to a close. So if you're trying to get through Christmas because of the time of the year it is, and there are some issues that do need to be worked through or discussed, or maybe get some outside support on, it may be difficult to keep it all under a lid as the year draws to a close. But if you are someone who wants to get together with loved ones, colleagues, old school friends or college friends or workers, and really have some kind of joyful gathering, there's lots of opportunities to do it with Venus in Aquarius for sure. I hope you have a fantastic Venus in Aquarius transit, and please stay with me now as I go through each of the 12 signs. I'll just say, please see beneath this video to watch your year 2025 deep dive video forecast for each of the 12 signs. Taken a lot of care with these, so please do check out those below. Now Aries, if you're a sociable ram, this is going to be a really positive phase for you, because the combination of that energy of Venus applying to Pluto just makes you much more aware of the value and weight of certain associations. It could be that you're going to meet someone completely new who just has that big impact. Equally, it could be people that you've known for some while. But the 11th house is also about our future as much as our friendships and connections. And of course, with it being about money, and in terms of Venus and Pluto being here too, you could make some very important decisions over the next few weeks, perhaps to do with that longer term plan. But it may be that the relationships within that decision making are going to be as important as the money, ironically, because I think if you can work with people that really you feel very at ease with, very aligned with, there's a good flow of collaboration and cooperation, that's going to really make you feel that much happier. So it can be a time to celebrate your friendships, it could be a time to meet some new ones, but it also could be a time when someone in your circle takes on a much greater importance in your life as a whole. Please see below for your in-depth year 2025 Zodiac forecast, and also to claim your year 2025 Zodiac General, Love, Chinese and Vedic written forecasts. So Taurus, charm will get you everywhere, but of course you know that already. Your earthy sensuality is a big part of who you are, but I feel that with Pluto moving back into the sign of Aquarius for the third time, if you have been experimenting with the type of work you've been doing since March 2023, when Pluto first went into Aquarius, I think you get an opportunity with Venus moving here to use your contacts, to use your personality power in your professional situation in a very potent way. Now, whether that is a job that sees you representing a company as a rep, or perhaps as a customer facing assistant, or it is something to do with your own business where you want to use your conscientiousness but also your imagination in order to improve your financial lot. So there may be something that you can offer even locally but in a different way. And part of that will be because you kind of understand what people want. They want some kind of tangible outcome for any service you provide, whatever it might be, but you can do it with a smile, and you can do it in a way that they can afford to. But it is true, if you are in a romantic situation that's going well, Venus into the 10th house could mean a decision to take the tie to that next level of commitment, whether it's moving in, deciding to get married, or perhaps even buying a property together. Please see below for your in-depth year 2025 Zodiac forecast, and also to claim your year 2025 Zodiac General, Love, Chinese and Vedic written forecasts. So Gemini, if you're travelling over the festivities, there's every chance, if you're single, that you could forge quite the connection with someone who's utterly different to you. But because of that, that can make it all the more intriguing. And of course with you, the more interesting someone is, the more it's likely to hook you in. But if you are in a relationship already and you're really wanting to understand just where you stand with someone, Venus applying to Pluto, to be honest, can give you such a desire to get to the bottom of what that tie is truly about. But if you are in a relationship which is going pretty well, this is also a period of time, I feel, if you can do something a little bit different. Now, of course, that could be to head off for some winter snow or some sun, but even just doing something different in terms of your regular pattern will be a way to enliven things. And one of the great things about 9th house energy, not just travel, it's the arts. Anything which is a bit fascinating and thought-provoking can be a great way to move you out of your normal confines, and that can be an extra opportunity to re-engage in a more energized way. But if you are single, that link between Venus and Jupiter in your sign from the 17th through to the 22nd could see you having a truly magical connection to one special person. Please see below for your in-depth year 2025 Zodiac forecast, and also to claim your year 2025 Zodiac General, Love, Chinese and Vedic written forecasts. Cancer, Venus for you moves into the 8th house, which has a kind of scorpionic vibe. It's deep, it's passionate, it's intense. And because the ruler, the modern ruler of Pluto, is waiting for Venus, if there are politics in your relationship, this could evoke them. So the start of this event could see some very, very passionate exchanges, or maybe if you feel that someone is in some ways not being as straightforward and upfront as they could be, you're going to want to get to the bottom of how they really feel. But if you are wanting that very, very passionate embrace, there's not a lot you can beat more than Venus conjunct Pluto. But of course, Venus is about money too, and the 8th house can be about legacies and inheritances, particularly Pluto. If you are thinking about juggling with some of your resources to make contingencies for the future, even for the long-term future, this would be an excellent time to get the advice of an advisor, because their ability to see beneath the surface and really understand your circumstances could be excellent. Also, if you're in business and it's a business that you're very much emotionally and in terms of energy, you're very deeply invested in it, you could get a return at this time which could be really transformational and absolutely delight you. Please see below for your in-depth year 2025 Zodiac forecast, and also to claim your year 2025 Zodiac General, Love, Chinese and Vedic written forecasts. So Leo, Venus moving into the 7th house is one of its strongest transitions, because the 7th house is very Libran-like. It's very much about how we relate into a person or a situation. If there have been tensions, Venus in the 7th house can help to ease them, but the energy of Pluto does create a bit more of a political and intense vibe. So if you have felt that there's been perhaps a lack of commitment around who does and contributes what, as Venus has made its way through the sign of Capricorn on the domestic front. You could find yourself really wanting to have the conversation which pins the other person or the other people, perhaps domestically, but your skill as a relator can still be enhanced by Venus in the 7th house, and it's one of the most traditional transits for making new relationships that can be absolutely wonderful. So particularly when Venus forges that link to Jupiter, which will be from the 17th to the 22nd, could attend an event, mixing and mingling, and that is when there could be that very unique and in some ways imperceptible sparkle between you and someone you encounter that really could make your pulse race. But if you're just wanting a greater sense of equilibrium in all sorts of relationships, Venus in Aquarius can help that. But it is also about understanding that Venus in Aquarius is about trying not to judge people for being different, accepting their foibles. We're all going to be spending time with people over Christmas we wouldn't normally spend time with, and that tolerance and understanding of how it feels for everyone is something you can bring to the party, quite literally. Please see below for your in-depth year 2025 Zodiac forecast, and also to claim your year 2025 Zodiac General, Love, Chinese and Vedic written forecasts. Virgo, Venus moving out of the most romantic and glamorous part of your chart into the most practical one. And Pluto is going to be pushing you to make some changes in this area around your work, around your life structures, around your approach to diet and fitness over the coming years. But Venus can in the 6th house be a great opportunity to do those thoughtful things that have some kind of practical benefit, and no one appreciates that better than you do. So whether it is offering to cover for a colleague at work if they need to go out, or if it is doing something for someone at home, a loved one, that thoughtfulness can be something that really does have a special resonance. But of course the 6th house can be about where we work in terms of jobs we want to apply for. So if you are working in an environment where you feel there is a good level of cooperation and it is very service orientated, as Venus arcs into the trine with Jupiter, that could be a lovely connection for you. If you are looking for a job in the run up to Christmas, you may be surprised that you could actually snaffle just what you need. But the key with Pluto in the 6th house now is it might not be exactly what you've done before, and it's being open to something fresh and different. Please see below for your in-depth year 2025 Zodiac forecast, and also to claim your year 2025 Zodiac General, Love, Chinese and Vedic written forecasts. So Libra, your ruling planet of Venus moving its way into the 5th house is a really seminal moment. The long journey of Pluto in the 4th house has probably seen lots of times when the focus has been on family, where you live, how you live there, or perhaps just wanting more space for yourself to really evolve and understand some of the deeper strands that have played out. But Pluto's arrival back in Aquarius for the 3rd time is something I'm sure you're aware is a great opportunity through to 2043 to really bring greater warmth in terms of your transformations. But I want to stress that whilst Venus in the 5th house can be very glamorous, very romantic for sure, it also is a great opportunity to showcase creativity, flair and artistry. So if your hobbies draw you together with people, that collective can actually become much more important to you. You know, whether it is through a hobby craft, whether it is through a meetup group, whether it is through a shared interest, whatever you do, the community part of it, which is Aquarius, but also the fun part of it, can be an added bonus for the core of whatever it is that interests you. And that can be, for sure, a great way to feel more relaxed, more outgoing, more exuberant. And the 5th house can be very exuberant, very playful, very affectionate. If you are really loved up and enjoying the journey, you can savour that connection in a very special way at the start of this. If you are someone who would like to meet someone, even if it's just new friends, the key is being up for mixing and mingling, because however much you'd like to bring that to you, it probably isn't going to happen if you are cocooned at home on the sofa. Please see below for your in-depth year 2025 Zodiac forecast, and also to claim your year 2025 Zodiac General, Love, Chinese and Vedic written forecasts. So Scorpio, Venus moving into Aquarius is great for home decoration, but being quite late in the year and depending on your circumstances, you may not immediately have the appetite to get the colour charts out and to start making some active alterations. But you can still do things that are more atmospheric, because that's a very Libran approach. Moving the furnishings around, perhaps decluttering a few things, preparing some spare rooms if you've got people staying, but also most of all appreciating the depth of very close emotional relationships. Now, not everybody's relationships are predicated on blood family. It could be your extended family, and those connections can take on an added meaning and worth to you at this time. But of course, Venus can be about money. The fourth house can be about property. If you are looking to rent or to buy, perhaps part of the journey for you is that you're thinking longer term about what you want. But Venus could seduce you a little bit in thinking of the aesthetics. But if something did come up that was of interest, think about how you could alter things given the time and perhaps a little bit of a budget, so don't necessarily make an instant decision. But if you're in a romantic relationship where you may feel there's a strong sense of attraction and perhaps even fun, but not much emotional or spiritual connection, that too could, though, become much more obvious now. Please see below for your in-depth year 2025 Zodiac forecast, and also to claim your year 2025 Zodiac General, Love, Chinese and Vedic written forecasts. Sagittarius, Venus moving into this area is delish, because Venus in the third house can be quite flirty, playful, interactive. Are you, if you're seeking an alliance, going to get a text message which surprises you through to the 3rd of January? Well, I'd say the chances are you could get more than one. But equally, the third house can be about our connections with our neighbours, our siblings, our immediate world. And it may be people that you have an existing rapport with can become much more important to you. Also, if you're someone who has got something important you want to say, you know, whether you blog or you have your own channel, you can really use the tonal energies of Venus's Taurus vibe to just draw people in even more by just simply the way you say things. But if you have got something that you feel very passionate about, clearly Venus applying to Pluto gives you a chance to convey it with that much more sincerity. But of course, Jupiter, your ruler, is in retrograde in your 7th house of relating. But I feel that when Venus and Jupiter meet up from the 17th to the 22nd, what a glorious opportunity to have a chat, which could actually be for someone somewhere absolutely life-changing. For other people, it could just be fabulously flirty, not at all committed, but absolutely wonderful to have all that frivolous, exciting froth. Please see below for your in-depth year 2025 Zodiac forecast, and also to claim your year 2025 Zodiac General, Love, Chinese and Vedic written forecasts. Capricorn, this can be a very, very lovely transit for money. It may not be that you're instantly going to get some kind of uptick or windfall, but it really wouldn't surprise me if by the 3rd of January something happened which gave you a greater sense of security and stability at the root of your existence. But of course, foundations, which is very much to do with Taurus energy, isn't necessarily how much money we've got in our pocket. It's how lucky we feel with what we've got. So it can be to do with gratitude. It can be to do with simplifying things, like making presents for people, using your earthy craftiness in an imaginative way. But the second house is about dosh. Pluto is about transformation. If you've worked very, very hard since 2008 on a business idea and it's yet to really give you the return that you feel it's deserving of, you may be surprised before the end of this year about how things start to unfold for you. The one thing I would say is by the end of the year, Venus does square up to Uranus. Uranus is in an edgy part of your chart for romance, one that perhaps has seen some surprising developments since 2019. But if there is someone who really takes your fancy, I probably wouldn't be tempted to splash out on some kind of grand gesture, because the second house and the fifth house in a square is not the best of times to be too generous or to speculate without a great deal of careful research first. Please see below for your in-depth year 2025 Zodiac forecast, and also to claim your year 2025 Zodiac General, Love, Chinese and Vedic written forecasts. Aquarius, Venus moving into your sign is great for one thing above all, and that is it brings to the close Venus in the 12th house, which can be a rather challenging transition, because it makes us much more conscious of who we can trust or not trust, or much more conscious of those fair weather friends. But Venus moving into your sign is going to give you absolutely dazzling star quality. Sorry, I'll repeat that. Even greater star quality. And because Pluto's in the mix, your presence, your aura is going to be magnified in such a fantastic way. But if you are someone who has been thinking carefully, amending an idea, trying to get some traction on something that you feel could be really exciting as you burst into next year, you could find yourself actually finally getting some giant strides forwards. That link with Jupiter is sensational from the 17th to the 22nd, whether it is by going to a party and having a fabulously uplifting and playful time, or it is because there is someone who's really drawn to you. Do you know, with Venus in the first house, don't be surprised if more than one person does beat a path to your door. And you could find yourself particularly selective, especially as when this process starts, Uranus is squaring the moon, and then at the end of the process, Venus is squaring Uranus. So you don't need to be rushing into any key decisions, but I feel that generally you're going to feel that life is picking up, there's more magnetism, there's more radiance, and you're going to absolutely wow people, whether it is in terms of gatherings, parties, celebrations, people you encounter if you're out on a night out. You're just going to have that much more to share and much more to draw. Please see below for your in-depth year 2025 Zodiac forecast, and also to claim your year 2025 Zodiac General, Love, Chinese and Vedic written forecasts. So Pisces, for you, Venus is exalted in your sign, and therefore in your 12th house has a bit of a flavour of that energy. And for you, that could seem very nostalgic for the past. Maybe for one particular person, maybe for a loved one who's no longer with us. It could be that there is someone on your cosmic radar who you're very aware of, but you may not have revealed it to them yet. So there could be a little bit of a secret attraction, dare I say even infatuation, because of the energy of Pluto. But you know, the converse can be true. The 12th house can be the sector of endings. It's also the sector potentially of betrayals. I'm not saying you're going to encounter one, but I feel that you need to be conscious of the cycles. Once Venus moves into your sign on the 3rd of January, that's definitely a new beginning for you around relating and money. So the 12th house is a time to reflect, think deeply about what you've got, what you'd like, how things are evolving, but are there some parts of your affections linked to the past which actually need releasing? If you're still holding on, you've still got a strong attraction to someone who's no longer in your life, but it's stopping you from being free and available in the here and now. The spiritual dimension of Venus making its way through Aquarius and the more detached energy of the sign of Aquarius can really help you. Also because Jupiter is your traditional ruler and links back to Venus from the 17th to the 22nd. You might be surprised by a Christmas card you get, a text message or email, which actually shows that someone else still has feelings for you. It doesn't necessarily mean that the relationship will be reprised, but sometimes it's just nice to know that there's still some mutual respect, even if circumstances have conspired to mean that you're no longer physically together, because you have an appreciation of the spiritual sphere beyond most zodiac signs. But if you are deeply unhappy in a relationship and you feel that it has become a bit addictive, but not in a way that's positive, Venus applying to Pluto is asking you to think about how you might sever the cord and set yourself free. It's been a real pleasure sharing Venus through Aquarius with you. Please do check out your year 2025 deep dive video forecast by clicking on the link beneath this one.